People's quote of the day. Do you see a man who excels in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before unknown men. Proverbs 22:29. Now, stay tuned for episode 1 of the People's Mentors podcast with yours truly, Juan Pablo. DJ Cool, run that beat, sir. All right, so we're back. We're back, my friend. We're getting to episode 1, which is excelling in your work. So before we get into the topic, I have 5 points outlined for you. You have to learn, mentor, practice, accountability, and not being complacent with the status quo. But let me share with the story how I came up with this topic. When I was in the New Jersey area, I was buying real estate, not as fast as I wanted to. I wasn't excelling in my work. The downside was I just didn't have the time for it. I was working full-time, exercising, commuting back and forth to work, running errands. I had many different commitments, many different obligations, many different roles, different hats that I was wearing on a day-to-day basis. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to dedicate towards excelling in my career as a real estate investor. But as fate will have it, I visited my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, hung out with a good friend of mine, DJ Cool. But he was scared to come outside and play basketball, so unfortunately he stayed at home. But I was able to play ball with my other friends, other associates. Long story short, I ended up rupturing my left Achilles tendon, completely detached. The pain, the agony, it was unbearable. Flew back to the New York City area and happened to find out that I ruptured it, and I could not walk for 2 whole months. But with every cloud comes a silver lining. With this experience, I had the time available to dedicate to real estate investing. So while my leg was propped up on the desk and I had nothing but a phone, an internet connection, and a computer, I was able to figure out how I can excel in my work of being a real estate investor. Long story short, prior to this injury, I had 7 rental units in my portfolio. Post the injury in the same year, I ended up closing 21 units in my portfolio. So in 1 year, I tripled the size of my portfolio simply because I had much more time dedicated towards my craft. Now let's get into it. How can you excel in your work? Well, the first thing you need to do, like I did, was just learn your craft. Learn everything there is to know. Specialize in that bad boy. If you're just studying your craft sporadically, every once in a while, when you can find the time to do so, guess what, my friend? You will be, as Proverbs 22:29 says, you will be a mere man. You will stand before unknown men and not kings. So with my situation, I said, you know what? I want to be the best of who I can be as a real estate investor. In particular, I want to be able to master creative financing. I want to know the ins and outs of seller financing, the ins and outs of how to structure deals, how to raise capitals, how I can be an entrepreneur and not a mom and pop real estate investor. And what do I mean by that? A mom and pop real estate investor, again, the unknown man in this case, is a person who does everything themselves. They're finding a deal, they're analyzing the deal, they're managing the deal, they're funding the deal, they're fixing the deal, they're exiting out of the deal, they're doing everything, a one-stop shop. That's ineffective. That's what unknown men do. But known men are men who are specialists. People who specialize in a certain field of endeavor, meaning Kobe Bryant. You could probably guess what his specialty is, right? Basketball. But didn't he win an Oscar fairly recently, right? Because whatever he's dedicated to, he made sure he specialized in it. Michael Jordan, Jay-Z, Oprah, Puff Daddy. Many of these people can be considered specialists in certain fields, whether it's music, whether it's media, whether it's business, but they also are dominant in other fields of human endeavor. But the first thing they did was specialize or learn as much as they can about their craft. And that's what I did when I had my injury. My injury afforded me the time to specialize in being a real estate entrepreneur. Just doing 2 things and doing them very well. Getting access to capital and getting access to deals. That's all I specialize in. Everything else from property management, everything else from finding the deal per se, everything else from funding the deal per se was outsourced. Only thing I did was become the quarterback, the real estate entrepreneur. Second point of how you, my friend, can excel in your work. Practice. You got to be able to practice what you learn. There's no point of learning copious amount of information and it's just sitting idle in your head. It's just collecting dust. That's a waste of time. And that's one of my biggest frustration with formal education or the public school system. You receive a ton of formal education, but with little application. What is wisdom? I like to talk about wisdom a lot. And the quote of the day was about Proverbs. Solomon was arguably one of the wisest men who ever lived. And that's one of the wisdom books in the Bible, Proverbs. Wisdom is defined as such. It's applied knowledge. It's knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. People say, yes, knowledge is power. No, it's not. It's not powerful if you can't implement it. So I want to make sure that you practice what you learn, my friend. Put it to work. But that implies you have to overcome one thing that holds you back most of the time. Fear. You learn what you can, and most people don't apply it because they're scared to make mistakes. They're scared to fall. They're scared to have their friends and family say, hey, I told you so. I told you not to get started in real estate investing. But you got to overcome that fear. You got to put this thing that you learn into practice so that you can excel in your work. The third thing I like to say for you to excel in your work is have a mentor. A mentor is a person who made the mistakes and will be able to guide you along the way to help minimize the mistakes you will make in the marketplace. And you want to use that mentor as a guide, and you want to shadow that individual. So that way, that mentor can be your cheat code to success. So while you're learning this information and you're practicing it and you're having a mentor look over your shoulder just to make sure you're doing the things the right way, this will greatly enable you to excel in your work so that you will stand before kings and not before mere men. The fourth thing I like to say for you to excel in your work is to hold yourself accountable by having accountability partners. Now, I don't want you to get the wrong idea, my friend. I'm not throwing any shade towards a mom and pop real estate investor or a landlord, in other words, because I too was in that same position. But I soon realized that me being a mom and pop / landlord investor, I was doing everything myself and I got burnt out. And I realized my time can be better spent if I just specialize in two things: getting access to deals and getting access to capital. Not saying that I have to find the deal myself or raise the capital myself or use my own savings, but I had to be that quarterback pulling the resources together, the entrepreneur, that synergistic glue that brings all the resources together. It's just like working out. If you say, you know what, I want to learn how I can get better health. I want to see how I can improve my health. Now, if you don't have a personal trainer or someone else to hold you accountable to make sure you do what you said you're going to do, then it'll be fruitless for you. You'll be an unknown man, because many people embark on new activities. They'll say, you know what, I want to be a real estate investor. Well, who's holding you accountable to make sure you go to that networking event you schedule on your calendar? Who's holding you accountable to look at 100 deals a week? Who's holding you accountable to make sure you're writing those offers, that you're hitting the pavement, that you're analyzing deals? If you say no one in my circle or in my networking groups is holding me accountable, then my friend, you will be before unknown men, because you don't have known men holding you accountable to make sure you're prosperous in your field of human endeavor. Last thing I would like to add so that you can excel in your work is not being satisfied with the status quo. Complacency is the enemy to greatness. If you're complacent with just, well, I got 1 or 2 units, like I could have been that same way. Well, I have 7 units in my portfolio. Well, I've did 7 units in 3 years. That's good. So maybe I can do another 2 deals this year. Then I will not be great. I will still remain an unknown man. So a man or woman who excels in his or her work, they are dissatisfied with the status quo. They're always striving to improve. They're always looking for ways to get better. They're thinking about new ways of doing things. They're thinking about new people they can add to their team, creating systems, processes, and the like. They always want to get better day by day. And that's the quote that I received from Napoleon Hill's book, which he was quoting somebody else. Day by day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And that is the mantra of the known man, a man who is highly skilled in their work. So there you have it, guys. The 5 tips from the people's mentor himself in order for you to excel in your work, you have to learn. You have to practice what you learn. You have a mentor shadow you to make sure you're doing the practice correctly. Forge accountability partners, and don't be complacent with the status quo. Great men succeed, I should say, because they strive for greatness. Yeah, that's right. They strive for greatness. There you have it, my friend. So now we're going to switch segments in this program. You know it's that time for the People's Champ. Shout out to Sadia Land, a good friend of mine from Pittsburgh, PA. I've met her several times with the Day with Juan Pablo and his properties, this tour we do for real estate investors in that market. But she sent me a message on March 5th, so here we go. Hey, Juan, I know it's been a while and you're probably thinking, why is she hitting me up talking about inspiration time when she needs to be getting that credit score together? Laugh out loud. Listen, I promise I'm working on getting my money together now so I can do so much properties and purchase my first investment property this year. But this email is not about me. It's about you, okay? I want to say that I like the new look you're going for. It looks really nice and professionally put together. In my opinion, I don't think you have to go too far with the corporate look if that's not who you are, no matter how old you are. Your business should be a reflection of who you are, and I believe you and your team do such a great job, you don't have to go crazy with your decision of rebranding. I believe you and your team will be able to reach multitudes of all ethnicities, not because of what you and your brand looks like, but because your team is so knowledgeable and effective that your clients can't deny you. Continue to work hard and be a great leader. Your fans will continue to support you no matter what. Why? Because when you make an impression on people's life, they tend to always want to support you.
Shh. Listen up. Let's get this money.
Now it's time for the People's Sponsor. This podcast episode is brought to you by 100% Finance. So if you're listening, my friend, and you're interested in getting started in real estate investing so that you can escape the corporate world and dress how you want to dress, live how you want to live, visit 100%finance.com to check out the Cash Flow Academy. Now, this, my friend, is a great asset in your arsenal. It has over 1,000 hours of instructional content teaching you the ins, the outs, the specifics of real estate investing, personal finance, and the like, designed to help you quit your 9-to-5 via passive income. If you want to know more information, check the link in the description. And she ended with this quote, the quote of the day. Do you see a man who excels in his work? I do. He will stand before kings. He will not stand before unknown men. Proverbs 22:29. So the People's Champ goes out to Sadia for giving the whole 100% Finance team that level of inspiration. I appreciate your feedback. So if you guys listen, we are doing a series of rebranding just to step up our game a little bit on a professional look. Reason being, because I'm 34 years old and I need to start looking and dressing like an established 34-year-old. All right, but I appreciate your feedback. We're not going to change the content. We're not going to change who we are as a company, but we do want to show that we're always excelling in our work, even when it comes to our brand, so that you too can buy into the same mindset. Excel in your work by any means necessary. So as always, guys, this is to your success. Continue to earn passively, live passionately. Peace. DJ.